Wednesday morning of week 7, we woke up really early to go to one of our favorite tracking spots, and we created a bunch of different tracking stations out on the beach.
Tracking stations. These bear a little explanation. A tracking station is an area that is identified as a place where there is a sign of an animal track. Now that track could be anything from a footprint to an animal scat. The idea is to find a place that has recently been visited by an animal and begin asking questions. Questions that start to get down ideas about what the likely animals are that could have left this track, where they were going, how fast they were moving, or even how old the track is. It's one of the hardest brain exercises any of us have ever done. And it's not about the answers. It's about the process of using your mind to find patterns in the tracks, and to compare and contrast these patterns with others you've seen in the past. For a lot of us, tracking is less about following animals and more about the ability to become more aware critical thinkers.
And the RDNA participants went through and we practiced asking as many questions as we could think of to learn about, what are the animals doing? How are they moving through this landscape?
It was just really beautiful how they ask us the right questions so that we're led to the answer. Whenever we kind of figure something out, now we can distinguish bobcat tracks from coyote, but there's still so much more. And Datavise and the staff are really good at always taking you to the next level with questions.
This method that they have of questioning, which is unique. I've been to a lot of different schools in a lot of different places, and I've never run across this technique before. This makes me want to keep using my own mind to grapple with the problem and to figure it out, and that when I come away from that experience a lot stronger, which is the point.
After we debriefed those stations, the afternoon we went down to a really great local tide pooling place, and the tide was minus tide, so we were able to go out really far on the rocks and do a treasure hunt looking for all the intertidal creatures, and we were able to collect mussels, and we brought them home. We had 2 buckets of mussels that we went home with, and we cooked them for dinner, and we had this really great potluck Wednesday evening where we got to actually harvest and eat the bounty of the sea. So Thursday we went out to practice our permaculture site assessment tools on a new potential site that we may have access to for running RDNA in the future. And so we all went out there and took a naturalist inventory of what's going on the landscape. How's water moving? What's the elevation like? Where's the wind coming from?
So we broke up into different groups and just examined the landscape. All the groups brought back different information. It was really interesting.
Each team kind of reported, what it saw, and when you gather all of that information together, you get a pretty good list of all the mammals and plants and land features and erosion problems and how the water's acting on the land.
So then in the afternoon, we went back to Blue House Farm and we took all those little garlic cloves that we had separated the prior week, and we planted them in the garden. So we helped Blue House Farm to seed the rest of their garlic for the year, and we had a talk about seasonal gardening.
So I'm going to give you a very quick and dirty download about gardening through the 4 seasons. Daylight changes, the temperature changes, and those all affect how plants grow, for sure. But it's
the seasons are a major theme throughout RDNA, so we plan each week based on what the seasons are doing, what's nature doing, and then also what can we be doing as humans on the landscape to interact with nature in the most beneficial way.
Well, week 8 was a blast. It was so much fun. So we came to the Permaculture Institute in Northern California, PINC, and basically we had the task of redoing a pond. So the lining in the pond had holes in it. We were going to take it out, take all the dirt and stones out, put a new liner in, and then we also were going to set up a tank for rainwater capture off of one of the roofs.
You may have noticed a gigantic tank in yonder location. If you missed it, check it out, it's beautiful. And we are going to get that thing back to the back side of this yard, which is a design challenge in itself.
This is going to be the most hilarious part of the whole day. So excited about it.
But we need to go back there and see where that is. So everybody follow me.
So there is an existing straw bale building that is near an existing pond. And so what we did was we calculated how much rain we were actually going to be able to harvest from the roof of the building, and then we installed a rainwater tank that's acting as a secondary top-off for the existing pond.
And then we took this big 2,600-gallon plastic tank, rolled it around the property, which was like this amazing experience because, you know, there was no path really big enough to do this, but we sort of made it work.
And then the tank for the rainwater capture had to come across the pond. So we're trying to get this huge, huge tank across this big hole in the ground. And on the other side of the pond, there's like this gray water recycling storage. So we put these boards across it to roll the tank, and the boards broke.
Cool. There's no time. Oh, okay, still going.
Byron had to jump into the tank to lift the tank up. And then we had a bunch of people just hefting the tank over the pond and then rolling it up on the other side. And it was just this epic effort, and everyone was so into it, and it was just so much emotion about getting this tank over the pond. It was so fun.
Sophie, move! Sophie, get out of the way! Oh my god. Nice!
All right.
Oh my gosh.
We also fixed the pond liner. We installed a new pond liner. So our old pond liner had a couple rips in it from animal holes. And so we removed all the rocks and we put a new pond liner in, and then we replaced the rocks. So we learned how to create, dry stacked walls. What does a pond look like and how does it need to be built in order for it to function in the way that you want it to. And we created a habitat pond, and we planted a bunch of aquatic plants around the pond, and then we hooked up the rain tank from the straw bale building to feed the pond in the summer when evaporation is making the pond level go down.
Hip hip!